I'm Tanya H. Franklin, and welcome to Tricks My Dog Taught Me, a podcast for lighthearted and occasional deep conversations with family and friends revolving around my journey as a dog mom to my little guy, Zach the Toy Poodle, which prompted me to self-publish my first book, Shit My Dog Taught Me, where I share some of my insights through poetry and weekly life lessons. And each episode is incredibly special to me as I get to talk with family and friends, and this week is no exception. I'm sitting down with someone who isn't just a phenomenal educator, but a dear friend of, wow, just about 15 years. She wears many
I know.
hats. She's a dog mom like me, a wife of over 20 years, a mother of fraternal twin boys, and right now, she is standing at the absolute forefront of the future as she helps lead the charge in incorporating artificial intelligence in the classroom. Dr. Susan Ray. Give you
Well,
the
that was
formal.
such a nice intro. And yeah, as we mentioned dogs, I don't know if we can see Odin. He's being a little grumpy, but yes, he is present. Dogs are a huge part of
Yes,
my life too.
yes.
And I was thinking, I'm so grateful to be your friend. And I feel like I kind of
Thank you.
decided you were amazing and chased you. I was like, I want to be friends
I'm
with
guilty
her.
of doing that. Well,
She knows what
thank you
she's
so much
doing.
for joining me and Odin in the
Yeah.
background. I have Zach. He's sitting down here too. So he's always here for every episode. So, and I'm not sure where Maggie is, but I'm sure that they often stop and take notice of their environment
Yes.
and the people, just like Zach does, which is what inspired me to write Week 30's poem, which is a haiku. But this poem, it actually made me think of you. And I was like, this is going to be perfect week for Susan because it's called Stop, Take Notice. And I want to share it first and then I'll tell you why
Yeah.
I think it worked for
Yeah.
you. Be prepared to stop as folks want to take notice. You are the focus. And as a haiku, you know that it's 3 lines. The ending words of each line, I feel like they're definitely representative of who you are, which is stop, notice, and focus. So you do so much and you add so much to the lives of other people. And you may not even realize this, but I think it's finally time that you stop and notice and focus on you. We're often focusing
Oh,
on so many other people. So in focusing on you, I just want to start off with, how are you doing today?
thank you. That's so kind. No, I appreciate that so deeply. And I think that's a good message for a lot of women because I will just say I was thinking about this specific thing this past week. My husband changed jobs, Craig, Craig well, and he's been
Mm-hmm.
traveling a lot. And the kids are at 2 different camps. I was solo parenting. And, sometimes it is when you're being primary parent, you just kind of lose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, okay, am I taking care of my professional obligations? Are the kids fed? Are they getting where they need to go? Is everything done? At the end of the day, you're just kind of like, I haven't done anything just for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's an important lesson sometimes to, okay, turn the focus back on you
Yes.
and what you're accomplishing and what you need, not just always outward. Because
Yes.
I think, yeah, and I know we're of the same generation, just like as girls and women, we were specially programmed to like care and take care of other people, which is great. But at some point, it's like you need to fill your own well or whatever the analogy is. Yeah.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I mean, I think that we get that not even in our home life, but even as educators too,
Yes.
that we're often pouring into our students. And so I was even thinking that for some of our questions and starting off, we do like educators with some icebreakers.
Yeah. I love that. I love
Just for
that.
some fun. So
Yeah.
we've been friends for, about 15 years or so. And
Yeah.
I remember when you were pregnant with the boys, and I've taken pleasure in having play dates with them and Quinn and for birthday celebrations. And now we have teenagers.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Quinn finally crossed that bridge, right? Yeah. Because
Yes,
my boys are
yes.
about 9 months older. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is unbelievable. Yeah. I've got a 1/4 inch on Alex now. I'm not
Yes.
ready. And I will
And I'm
mention this is random, but Tanya is not only gorgeous and statuesque, but she is tall, and she's my first female friend I've ever had that is taller than me, and I love it. It's so random, but yeah, and I know Quinn is gonna be, tall and statuesque as well. Yeah.
And, she does not want to be tall. She
No.
said because then it becomes difficult. She sees my struggle with finding clothing, and especially
Mhm.
pants that fit me properly, and she and even arm's length sometimes, and she's like, "I'm not looking forward to that struggle," and I said, "I'm sorry, you don't have a choice." So, I said, "Maybe by the time you get older,"
Yeah, 'cause
like they
I'm
have the
a
big and
yeah.
tall store for men, but they don't really have a place for women. You may find stuff in the tall section, maybe, but
Mhm.
not
Yep.
always.
Because I know I'm a good 2 or 3 inches shorter than you, but just the way I'm built for all my
Mhm.
I had to get long pants.
Yeah.
Because if I got regular pants, it'd look like, I was aiming for capris, and that
Yeah.
just was not appropriate all the time. But
Mhm.
there's lots of wonderful things about being tall. Tell Quinn to
Yes, I
own
think
her
so.
yeah, her strength, yeah.
Yes, I mean, it
Oh
took
my
me some
goodness.
while to get there, but now that I'm here, I'm like, "Listen, I'm even gonna wear heels when I want to."
Yes.
There once
I
was a time when
love
I wouldn't
that.
do that because I was
Mhm.
concerned about being even taller than I
Yes.
already was.
Have you ever seen, even just an episode or clip of Ted Lasso? So Hannah she was on Game of Thrones. Hannah Waddington is an English
Ah.
actress who's, like, a singer, and she's, like, 6 feet, and sometimes her co-stars would be like, "Can you not wear heels?" And she was like, "No." Like, "I like my height. I'm gonna own it. If you wanna wear heels, you wear heels, babe." Yeah, I love
Mhm,
it.
mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
So now that your boys are getting taller, I'm just wondering about their dynamic and if there's ever been something that's funny, especially now, whether they were younger or now that you
Mhm.
say, "Oh my gosh, this was so funny, a twin moment." I don't know if I ever told you that I always
Yeah.
wanted to either be a twin or have twins. But I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if you ever stopped and take notice at some of the funny moments or even absurd moments that happen
Mhm.
with them.
I mean, it's so funny because 'cause you've met them and they're neurodivergent, they're awesome,
Mhm.
they're gonna take over the world, but they have their own struggles. Jack has ADHD and Alex has mild autism, and my mom always said they're just brothers born on the same day. There's nothing twin-like about them, like, Jack has blonde hair and blue eyes and my facial structure, and Alex has dark hair and dark eyes like Craig. They act like they're completely different. There was something recently, like, Jack was like, "I can't drink out of that cup. Alex drank out of it." And I
Mm,
said, "Dude, we all shared a circulatory system for 9 months. Like, get over yourself." And there was some laughter just but they do I really thought there'd be some more twinness,
mhm.
to them. I will say a really beautiful thing is sometimes, kiddos on the spectrum, they meet their goals when they're babies later. Like, they walk
Mm,
later, they speak later, but Jack was so determined, like, Jack wa like, talked early, walked at 8 months, and I think Alex was always watching him. They were always together
mm,
because they weren't in a daycare. I think we had Lonnie, an amazing nanny that she came during the day, and so Alex was determined to keep up with Jack. So I always think that a lot of Alex's successes and the way I hate that kids on the spectrum have to mask, but it's the world we live in. Sometimes you have to
mhm,
push through and just kind of blend. But his ability, I think, so much of that, and I would never tell them because Jack would have lorded over Alex, but I think a lot of Alex's early success and his ability to just always be a mainstream kiddo
mhm.
comes from Jack. So I think that was a real beauty in them being twins.
And
Yeah.
you just bringing that up, it makes me think about how you said that sometimes they're not necessarily just like twins, but just like brothers. And I found that my mom said I did a lot of things early. My sister and I are 18 months apart. And I'm sure that seeing her do certain tasks or reach certain milestones may have helped
Mhm.
me along the way to get there too.
That's a great point 'cause I know
Mhm.
Quinn is an amazing kiddo, and occasionally when I think my kiddos just aren't trying, I'm like, Quinn is doing A, B, and C," and they're like, "Stop bringing up Quinn." Um, but, Alex was in advanced English, and Jack got very insecure, and I was like, "Well,
Mm.
it's just, it's different. It's not one person's smarter than the other or even at a subject, it's just how they learn right now." But Jack was determined to make distinguished honor roll. And he did, and I think it was just
Awesome.
because Alex always just made regular honor roll, I think, is B's and A's, and distinguished is straight A's, and he did it once, and then he was like, "Yeah, that was too much work." Because, a
Said,
lot
"All
of it is
right, I
just
got
making
one
sure.
under my belt, we're
Yeah,
good."
it's about getting every assignment in on time, which when you have ADHD is just brutal. So, obviously, he maintains, like, A's and B's, but he was like, "That perfection was exhausting," and I
Mhm,
was like, "Well, now we
mhm.
know you can do it," and he said, "No." But yeah, for sure. So how did you and your siblings push each other growing up?
Well, you know what? I will say that my sister and I, since we were 18 months apart and she was older, the push for me more so, and this may sound where I'm looking for a certain level of sympathy, and that's not it, but it was I wanted her to like me.
Course,
So,
yeah.
I worked really hard at trying my best in hopes that she would like me. We're much closer now, but when we were
Yeah.
younger,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was she was the cool one, me not so much, and I found that I was pushed in hopes of her liking me or saying, "Oh, wow, my sister's actually cool," or
Yeah.
"My sister can do this." And every once in a while, I remember this one time when I was in 3rd
Mhm.
grade and
Yeah.
she was in 5th grade, and she asked me, it was around report card time, "How do you do so well in school? Teach me some tricks."
Oh,
And I remember saying,
I
"Teach me
love
how to
it.
be cool.
Yes.
Teach me how to be
Yes.
cool." And
Yeah. Oh, I
so
love it. Oh, that's interesting. Because 'Cause you're
Mhm.
the middle kiddo, right?
Yes, yes.
Because I was actually thinking about you the other day. Because 'cause I'm the oldest, and then I have 2 younger brothers, Kyle and Adam, and Adam's got, what was called Asperger's in the '90s, so he needed a lot of support, and I was the oldest and the only girl, so I got my own attention, and my middle brother's pretty easygoing, and he came across the term. Have you ever heard the term of the glass child?
No.
So it's the child where the other children need a lot of attention or something, and it's not that they're always looked over, but often they're kind of looked through just because the other 2 or other whatever siblings need more, and I was like, "I wonder, because Tanya, you do so well and you just
I
excel
think
at."
I was in hearing that
Yeah.
definition,
Yeah.
because there were times when I had a lot of different struggles with self-esteem
Mhm.
or just wanting to find my way. Yet I think that it wasn't noticed, and I don't think it was that I was purposely being neglected or anything like
No, yeah,
that.
it's
I
not
think I
that, yeah.
just it was my I have a younger brother, he's 4.5 years younger than I am, and he's the only boy, so he tend to get more attention based on that, and then my sister, she's
Mhm.
the oldest, I got most of the hand-me-down clothes, and
Yeah.
I will say she faithfully listens to the podcast, so she'll probably hear me say this and say, "Tanya, don't say that." But she's a little boy
Yeah.
crazy.
Mhm.
And
Fair enough,
sometimes
yeah.
would, do some things, and so
And
I
so
think
she'd
as
need
a
more
result
attention.
of that,
Yeah.
my mom was like, "Let me hone in on what Tanisha is doing."
Mhm. 'Cause Tanya's
And
on
so
autopilot.
yes,
She's
yes,
yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
so
exactly, and it's not about a lack of, pardon me, love or lack of, whatever from the parents, but I at first I'll be admit, my brother brought that up, I got defensive, and I was like, "I was the oldest, I had so many responsibilities," and then I
Mhm,
called him back, I was like, "You know what? I'm really sorry. Like, you weren't trying to accuse me of anything, but I think you're right. There is some truth to that," and then I thought about other friends I know who are middle siblings or siblings.
mhm.
They have siblings that needed a lot of support, and I was like, "I wonder if Tanya ever
Yeah.
felt that." Yeah, so
Mhm. And it's
yeah.
interesting because I sometimes talk about that in class with my students, and a lot of students have mentioned that it depends on the not just the order, but the gender of the order. So that if
Yes.
it's 2 girls back to back or 2 boys back to back, however, if it's one and then we switch to the other, and depending on how much of a gap is in between, they still have some individuality.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I've realized all of my female friends except you and my best friend, Netta, I mean, best friend just as, like, oldest since, like, freshman year of college. Every other woman I'm close friends with is an oldest daughter. But I do think that you and Netta have, like, what you call oldest daughter traits, if that
Yes.
makes sense. Like, you're always kind of, like, supporting the family and arranging things and, like, very focused on success, and so I don't think it necessarily is age range, but it's certainly that, like, stereotype, right?
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
thought that was interesting because a lot of that depending on the family dynamic, can happen with the
Yes.
oldest daughter. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And even in you bringing up, the oldest, I'm thinking about your marriage, which is not the oldest of ever,
It is,
but
isn't it?
still, there's a lot of people who they can barely get in a relationship with someone for a year, let alone be married for 20
Mhm.
plus years. And so I was honored to be invited to the barbecue to
Oh, yeah, it was
celebrate
fun.
last year with you. And I just love your relationship with you and Craig. And I I think it's awesome. Like I said, so many people are just longing and hoping to find that special someone. And if you have any advice for our listeners, what's an absolute non-negotiable
Yeah.
secret or what seems to be a
Mhm.
secret to long-lasting marriage? And obviously it varies from relationship to
Yeah.
relationship, but for
Yeah.
you.
I think it's important that you're how do I say this right? You're both the most important character, if that makes sense. Because sometimes you'll see in relationships, whether they're fictional or real, and I don't want to point to any real ones, where it seems like the marriage is about the one spouse, right?
Mm,
Maintaining either their emotional regulation or their career or what they need. And it has to be a team. So I remember when Craig got out of the army, I was living in Binghamton, New York, and there was really no jobs there. And Craig had no desire to live in New York State, but we lived there. And as soon as I finished my coursework, he's like, "Look, I need to live somewhere that I can, do my career." I was like, "Fine, let's go somewhere where I can drive back and forth every once in a while." We moved to Philadelphia. And then, just has kind of always been his career than my career. So when I started doing the AI work and he was still with the VA, obviously, like he had to, when I was going to another university or whatever to give a talk, he had to solo parent and same thing with his new job. So I think that's a big part of it. And I'll tell you a funny anecdote. My mom and dad, I think like every 2 years we save up and we try to travel. And my
mhm,
parents will come over and, like, stay a week or 5 days in our house, and we'll go somewhere. Like, we got that painting in Kenya, that was an amazing trip. Um, but my mom was like, "I never had a week break off when I was a
mhm.
mother." I'm like, "That really stinks, I'm sorry, like, I couldn't have done what you did." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, you could have managed the whole house and everything if you have to." And Craig laughed and said, "No, she would divorce me." 'Cause he knows. I mean, I have so much admiration for men, women, whomever can just be your whole life is the house, but I am not
Yeah.
that woman,
Mhm.
So I think it's just seeing each other, understanding who they are, and it can go back and forth. Is it, what's her name? Brené Brown?
Mhm.
The speaker says sometimes she walks in and she'll just tell her husband, like, "Oh my god, like, I'm running on 25%." And he'll say, "Well, I'm at 0." And she's like, "Alright, I got you." Like, it's just that. And you and Sean, I mean, I'll share, we got married younger because my father did not like the idea of me cohabitating prior
Yeah.
to the ring. But I think we've been with our partners about the same
Yeah.
amount of time, right? Craig and I met, like, 2003 maybe?
Yeah, we have been together for 26 years and
It's
married. But,
amazing,
it took
yeah.
my mom's like, "When's he gonna marry you?" So we didn't get married for like until
Yeah,
11 years later. So we're up on 15 years married.
yeah.
So
But
but
you
yeah.
It's been all but married son yeah, for so
Mhm.
long, and I think you and Sean have a lot of similarities, and it seems like you're very, like, focused and go, 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 and, like, not anxious, but, like, you look at problems, you're like, "I've gotta unpack it," where Sean can
Mhm.
just be like from what I've seen around Sean, he can be the
Yes.
chill. This
Yes.
not need to be worried about right now. Let's just, step back. And I think that's the best relationships, that harmony, because
Mhm.
if they're yeah, you need someone who's always pulling and pushing, and you also need someone that's like, let's
Exactly.
keep our sanity, let's enjoy the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and to
So
keep you even killed also, because
yeah.
I definitely there are moments when I will say it's not even a matter of me overreacting or anything like that, but I deal more so in emotions than he does. And so
Mhm.
I may at times be sensitive about something, and then he will give me a different point of view, different perspective on
Yeah.
that. I'm like, oh, I didn't think about it from that way. Or
Yeah.
if
I
s
think that's
uh,
yeah.
yeah, or because he can be chill to himself and everything, and he makes fun of me sometimes because I am that person who is looking for friends. He's like
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, that's nice." So I feel like
Mhm.
one of the things I've learned is within, marriage that that person, they can be your everything, but they shouldn't
Yeah.
have to be everything to you. And to
Yes.
make that clear, if you've ever watched any of those documentaries about when
Mhm.
people got married in the past, and I'm sure you know this from the different time periods you cover when teaching, is that it's only until recently that marriage is about love. There
Yeah.
once was a time when
Yeah.
it's about convenience, about status, and all these
Mhm.
things, and making
Mhm.
it about love, that's wonderful. But then I think the people then start to look at that person and say, "You need to be everything. You need
Everything.
to give me
Yeah.
every." That's a lot.
It's too
And
much
so
pressure,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot of pressure, and so I feel like,
Mhm.
"Okay, you can be my everything, but you don't have to be everything." Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. There was and this is completely relevant to marriage. I read an article in Parent Magazine when I first had the boys, and it was a mom's letter to her daughter, and the first sentence was, "You are the most important thing in my life. You are not the only thing in my life."
Mhm.
And it was
Mhm.
about that this motherhood's gonna be the most important thing, but it's not all I am, and I wanna model that for you, and I think the same thing's true of marriage. Like, of
Mhm.
course, Craig is my best friend, and he's the person that I go to, and, I started recently calling him human Xanax, because if things are stressful, I can just give him a big hug, and it's like, "Okay." But I need my female friendships, and that's
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
I think my grandmother passed away in February. She was 104,
Mhm.
like, it was not she'd had a robust life, but that was the most important thing in her life for a very long time. She lost 3 husbands just, tragically, but the female friendships, like, held her up. When my dad's dad passed away, her friend like, 3 women just descended on her house and just started silently
Mm.
cleaning with her so she wouldn't be alone, and her friend Bonnie met her for dinner every Thursday for 2 years.
That's
Like, just,
awesome.
yeah, and so I think it's interesting because Craig's the same way. He has male friends, but he's not like, "I need to text them," or, "I need to go see them." It's if something comes up, whereas I'm like, "I haven't been on a walk with Tanya in ages," you know? Or, "I wonder if Maria wants to get a cocktail." Like, I need that, and I think it's and they've done studies, right, that often if a man is widowed, he's kind of lost sometimes because the
Mm.
woman is everything, whereas
Yeah.
the woman, of course, we love them, we're devastated, but we still have our community.
Mhm.
Right? So,
Mhm.
men can learn from us.
Yes. Yes. And just even speaking of learning, a semi-tough question. So we
Mhm.
have Craig, your husband, we have the twins, we have your students and AI, but we can't
Mm,
forget about the dog. So I'm wondering,
yes.
where do people rank in the hierarchy? Who listens to you in the household?
Oh, that's interesting because, it's so I heard the most frustrating comment, Tanya. So, I have Odin who's behind me. He's the Great Pyrenees mutt that looks like a Saint Bernard, but he's not. And then we have Maggie who looks like Snoopy, and she's our grumpy old lady who is an abused rescue. Like, she's
Mm.
lovely, but she's very nervous. And every time I would bring Maggie to the vet, she would nip, poop everywhere, like, she'd just get very anxious, like she was gonna be taken away or hurt, and they were like, "Do you think your husband could bring her? Because she probably sees him as the alpha," and I was like, "Oh,
Ooh,
yeah?" Yeah, but it was true,
did it work?
Yeah,
Oh.
it made me kind of frustrated, but, you've met my husband, he's got, like, the deep voice, and he's got the
Mhm.
gravelly
Mhm.
personality, um, but so definitely and then when we had our dog Blue, you met him, like, he passed away,
Yes.
but he was 15, he was a border collie mix, and we had a pool in our backyard in New York, and once I was swimming and I felt something, he was trying to pull me out of the pool by my braid.
Mm.
Like, he decided the family was Craig, and then me, and then him, So I think the dogs I have now kind of see me as the mom, but dad's still the pack
Mhm.
authority. They
Mhm.
do listen, but, like, yesterday, Odin had tummy troubles, and he had a chewable tablet he wouldn't take Tanya. I put it in hot dogs, I put it in turkey, he would just eat everything and somehow
You eat
spit it
everything
out.
around it and yep, yep.
Yeah. I shoved it in his mouth and just held his snout, and he tried to growl. I said, "Oh, no." And we just sat there until it dissolved, but I was like, "This is like another child." So, how about Zachy? Where does he think he stands in the hierarchy?
Oh, I think he knows that I'm in charge, that I'm the alpha. But
Mhm.
I will
Nice.
say, I feel like I was given this position as the alpha because when he was a puppy, he had
Mhm.
a situation where he had fallen
Right.
mistakenly, and I just remember that yelp. It was so scary, and I won't replay the
Yeah, yeah,
sound because anyone who's listening is
yeah,
like, "Oh my gosh, my ears," but it was like,
yeah,
if you ever heard a dog make that sound like they're in pain, and I just grabbed them so quickly and picked him up. I was like, "Oh my gosh," and so he was limping, and then we take him to the vet,
yeah.
and they said, "Oh, he's okay," and they said, this is and I laugh about it now, but I wasn't at the time. They're like, certain dogs, especially toy poodles, are known for being dramatic and milking incidents like this, and they will milk it. And it's kind of like a toddler where if you go, "Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
my baby," and then they weren't crying
Yeah.
until they see you start
Mhm.
crying. And I
Right.
think in that moment he was like, "She really loves me. She's going to take care of me.
Yeah.
I'm going to follow her everywhere." And so,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
we were away on, and I would say that then it's Sean and then Quinn. However, when it's time for dinner, he will be Quinn's best buddy because he knows she's the one who may drop something, even if she doesn't give him
Mhm.
anything, the one who's gonna drop something, and I'm actually
Right.
thinking, and that's probably one of the reasons that Maggie looks at him as the alpha, because I've been at your house where Maggie gives that look, that puppy dog look, like, "Come on, I just want a little something, I want a piece," and I hear him say, "Maggie," and then she,
Yep,
like,
yep,
puts
it's
her
not
head down.
happening. Yeah, yeah, and
So
he's
he's
the
like,
first
"Oh
one,
man, I
yeah.
can't get anything from him."
Mm-mm. But if
So
they're in the backyard and I'm like, come on," and they both
mhm,
look at me, especially Odin, these Great Pyrenees types, they don't like to listen, they wanna do their own
mhm.
thing, and Kraken goes, "Odin, come," down the hill, like, it's just that booming voice of God, yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, but when we went away on the cruise recently,
mhm.
and we were gone for 8 days, then
Yeah,
Sean said Zach waited at the door, which I expected because he's done that before when we've gone
yeah,
away, when we went to the Dominican Republic, and waited at the door the entire night for us to come, and then once he didn't, he's like, "Oh, I guess you're not coming." Then he was like, then they were best buds for the rest of the week. And so then when I came back, I thought it
oh,
was
I
gonna be a
love it, yeah.
reversal, and I was like, "Oh, I think Zach," and he was so happy. I have a video of him jumping up and down, and he's like, "I don't know who to go
Oh,
to first." And then, he
yeah.
went and sat back down with Sean on the sofa, and I was
Yeah,
like,
he's like, "Well,
"Huh."
you might leave
And
again,
he's
this
like,
is my new
yeah,
bud."
and then he
Yeah.
said, and then Sean's like, "Oh, he's gonna just follow you upstairs." And I said, "I don't know." And surely he stayed downstairs. I guess he said, "Just in case you're gonna leave again,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna keep
stay
dad
right
right
here."
here. Yeah. Dogs are very practical like that.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
They
mhm.
have their core people, and they'll decide who's the one most likely to look out for them. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And speaking of looking out, we gotta talk about, and being professors, that we have to look out for our students, and sometimes
Mhm.
look out for ourselves, because every once in a while there's something that I'm like, I have to teach this, but I loathe it. Or I have to reinforce this behavior, but I really don't want to. So I'm wondering if there's a book, a piece of literature, or maybe even a lesson that you secretly hate teaching, or you're like,
Hmm.
oh man. And sometimes it's even impromptu where you're like, you know what? They're not getting this. Let me take a step back. And you just got to put a smile on your face and
Yeah.
do it anyway.
Forever since I started teaching, I think I told you. So I started teaching comp 20 years ago, like right around the time I got married. And this is not to speak ill of Binghamton University, but they were between heads of the writing program. They
Mm,
were in a big shift. So I had no training. It was like, here's two classes of 20 students, have them write and revise 20 pages over the semester.
mm,
And everyone told me, okay, you need to teach like the personal narrative, the research paper, and compare and contrast. I loathe compare and contrast. I hate teaching it. I think it's something we do naturally, like when we discuss, when we evaluate sources, but like
mhm,
where you
mhm,
have to like, and then students always write when you juxtapose. So that's one thing that I'm glad I gave up, and we don't have to dig into it too deep, but I do AI integrated assignments, and we keep our own voice, and to do all those steps I've given up at one major paper and just made the other three more robust, and it has
mhm.
been so nice getting rid of compare and contrast. Oh, I loathe it. How about you?
You know what? For me, I would say it's just the grammar and mechanics. Well, and it's not that I hate it, it's
Mhm.
that there's so much where every student is. And some students, they may say they're not strong with the comma or with the semicolon, or they don't know how to use doing subject verb agreement or anything like that. And it's not that I hate teaching it, it's just that I know I can't accommodate all students at once.
Yeah.
And so it
Yeah.
makes it difficult because what I try to do each semester is I'll pick and choose errors that I
Mhm.
see in the draft or something like that. And
Mhm.
not from one specific paper, but and I say, "Oh, there's an abundance of this issue.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it." So before the final version of the first essay is due, we'll usually have a grammar class so that we'll
Mhm.
go over all of these different things. But there's this part of me that's like, I know I'm not going to be able to hit all the points.
Mhm.
So and then there's, of course, some students who are eye rolling, like, "I know this." But then I'm
Can
thinking,
I
"But you don't
yeah.
because you're the one."
Yeah. So if I can offer something that's been a breakthrough for me just this semester, because I'm the same way with you. I'll look at the patterns and be like, all right, this class, it's really comma splices. So we'll go over it.
Mhm.
But I have a prompt, shocker, where like they get their first paper back from me and I'll notice like, okay, these are the grammar issues to work on. This is what you need to do. And I say, everyone go to like Boodlebox or ChatGPT and fill in this prompt. And it's like, my English professor noticed in my paper I need to work on blank. And it can be like wordiness, subject, verb agreement, whatever. Um, Create a quiz with like 5 responses I need to
Mm.
answer and make the theme of the quiz this. And they choose something they like. So one person chose K-pop demon hunters, someone chose the Eagles. So all the questions, are about at least a topic they like. I find that just
I
works so
love
much better than like
that. I
Jack
may
and
have
Jill
to
roll,
I may have
whatever.
to
They get so
use
bored by
that.
this. Yeah. And then at the end, I'm like, I don't care if you get the questions right or wrong, just do it. And then just write me 3 sentences. Did this help you understand it better? Because the first part of the
Mm.
prompt is break it, like, what is subject verb agreement? Break it down for me really simply. And then it will go through. So, I mean, I'm just saying it's something I'm trying out that's
Mhm.
new, but at least that way I know 19 people with 19 different grammar issues get at least
Yes.
something. Yeah. So that's
Yes,
been
I
fun.
love that. I love that. And
Yeah.
speaking of getting something we gotta talk about is your fitness journey.
Oh,
And,
I'm trying. I
you
wish I
got
was
your
you.
arms out for people who are not
I'm trying.
watching, looking
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
got the gun showing, and
yeah.
the last
Mhm.
few years, I've been inspired. I'm like, "Look at you go." And so in our
Ugh.
profession as educators, it's and even in just being, wives and mothers, I think it puts us in a position where everyone is first, like we were talking about.
Mhm.
In my haiku, it says, "Be prepared to stop." And so I'm just wondering, how hard was it for you to intentionally stop giving all of your energy away to grading and family and lessons and all this stuff and say, "You
Yeah.
know what? I'm going to dedicate some time to my health and my physical strength."
A lot of that is due to you. For anyone who does not know Tanya Franklin very well, she is a beast. Like she gets up at like 4 in the morning and like, goes and works out and then she'll meet a friend and go for a 10-mile walk. And then she'll like maybe do some strength training in the evening. And she, just what is it? The Spartan runs, like everything. Like you amaze me. I don't know. And like, especially it's funny, Maria especially is like, how does Tanya do it? Where are the hours in the day? So I will say, I noticed, I think it was you first had a Fitbit. This years
Mhm.
ago. And I was like, I'm going to get one of those. And I was shocked the days I was on campus. We actually do a lot of walking when our
Yes.
classes are on opposite ends. It's not a giant campus,
Mhm.
it's 3 big buildings. But the days that I was home, like grading and stuff, I was not moving. And I'm like,
Mhm.
this is not great. I convinced Craig we got a treadmill. And I think I told you that when it's our boys discovered YouTube, we came up with YouTube treadmill. You can only watch YouTube when you're on the treadmill going at least 3.0, so there's some kind of cardio involved. And he's gotten a weight bench, and I think you recommended I have a kettlebell.
Mhm.
Um, and so there's really no reason when it's all right there in your house not to
Yeah.
give it at least 30 minutes a day, no matter how big the project. So that's
I
been
love
really
that you
helpful.
say that because there are some people who may be listening right now who they use if they especially if they spent all that money for a Peloton bike or even just a stationary bike, and instead of it being for them to work out, it's for them to put their laundry on.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I laugh, and because these people have laughed with me about it, and so
Yeah,
sometimes I not that's one of the things I say, not even just with working out, but with something that you need to lock in with, is to
mhm,
connect it to something else. So when you were saying the iPad, so I even do that with social media. More times
yeah,
than not, when I'm on social media, I'm actually walking. So
that's
I
smart, that's what I
walk
do too,
when I'm on
mhm.
social media. So then if someone says, "Oh man, she's on here again." So I'm being productive. I'm walking.
Yeah,
I'm doing
and that's what you
something.
can say to someone who's like,
Yes.
"I have no time in the day." It's like
Mhm.
and I do this it's a exercise with my students, you can go to settings on your phone and see how much time you're actually on your phone.
Yes.
You can be on
Yes.
your phone and move your legs, yeah.
Mhm.
So and
Mhm.
I think that's key. I love, books on tape. Yeah, books on I'm so old, books on tape. Audiobooks, yeah. Students like, "What's a tape?"
Yes.
But there's just always like, when you and I meet and go for a long walk
Mhm.
because, again, I was never a runner. I was starting to try to be a runner when I had, surgery on a vertebrae when I was, like, 30, and that was a long time
Mhm.
ago. And they said, "Well, you really shouldn't run," and I was like, "My heart's not broken.
Mm.
That's okay." But I do a lot of walking. I love when we go to the lake cottage, lots of swimming. Um, and you just feel better, and you've been the one to really show
Yes.
me because middle age, some of the things that come with it hit me hard. And, protein, weightlifting, and moving just make it so much more bearable, all the
Mhm.
changes,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes, yes, and even in just relating it back to the poem, the one line says, "As folks want to take notice, you are the focus." And so I know that you didn't start your strength training journey for applause, but like I said, your dedication, it's totally evident, and
No, thank
I'm
you.
sure that people see it. And it might get other people on board. I remember you mentioning at one time that you took the boys, to the gym with you and they wanted to work out, and that's one
Yeah.
thing that I try to do, is to
Mhm.
make it where it gives me time with Quinn as well, so
Mhm.
that's something that I enjoy, where
Yeah.
it's not just about me. Yes, there are times when it's super early in the morning and that time is for me, and then we
Mhm.
have our time together and we're able
Yeah.
to go on a walk, or sometimes she wants to do running or go strength training or something with me. And so I'm just wondering, for you, as you've been on your journey, how does it feel to step into the spotlight? And I'm sure you may have, because people asking you questions and saying, well, how
Mhm.
do you do this? Well, what did you do for that? And so when you think
Yeah.
about where you are in your journey.
It's interesting because I know I've shared with you, like, it runs in my family. Weight is something I've
Mhm.
always struggled with, and so for the past few years, it's been pretty stable, like, I've been a
Mhm.
size that I'm okay with, but I always still think, like, "You're not good enough, you need to fix it," so I don't take
Mm.
compliments well. I'm like, "Oh, I'm not there
Oh.
yet, I'll get there eventually." Um, but I think what you said is so important about modeling it for the kids, and Craig's even better about this because another thing I can't do with my back is I can't bike ride. But
Mhm.
he takes the boys on these really long bike rides, which is great. I take both of them to the gym, and I'm like, "No, no, this much on the cardio. Okay, these are the weights. No, don't slam it down." And it's trying to because Alex is like, "As hard as I can," and then slam. I'm like, "No, no, no, it's controlled." Um, but I think it's so important to model it for them. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's so funny. My dad, when I was young, he was like, "It's not that hard. You eat less and exercise more." And no matter what
Mm.
fad comes up, like you can eat whatever you want if you do B. It's like most of the time, like unless you're well, you are a powerhouse, like you're moving all the time. But for the average person that maybe is exercising 2 or 3 hours a week, you can't eat like an Olympian.
No.
You've got to
No.
just be
Mhm.
mindful, yeah, about what you're consuming. Um, yeah, and I try to model that for the kids a lot because I struggled with, like, binge eating, which I now know is attached to ADHD, I didn't know then, and
Mm.
try to gently say without getting them a complex, like, "Is that fuel or is that just, something that tastes good right now?" Which is okay, but what does your body really need? Or that's a sometimes food, like, let's not make that a meal. And again, you wanna balance it because boys, just like girls in this moment with social media, they could have their own body issues. We wanna keep that pretty chill.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
one of my gym friends, he was telling me before that because he was actually on the podcast, a few weeks back, and he was telling me about his journey, and he lost a lot of weight, and he was saying, like, when you said about eating, food for fuel, that's what he said. He says he eats it for nourishment, and I'm like, "Okay." And he's like he says, "If I
Yeah.
eat," he says, "if I eat for enjoyment, I'll be gaining all that weight back."
Yeah, I thought that's so interesting because it is there was a podcast I don't listen to anymore because it got a little repetitive, but called The Minimalists, and they're these
Mm,
guys about, like, living more with less and having less items, but one of them ate so carefully, and he said, "Food is not entertainment." And I thought,
mm,
"Oh," because it really is framed that way, and so much socializing happens around food, and I think it can be
mhm.
nice to be entertainment sometimes.
Yes, yes, I think so.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
to not always see it. It's
Mhm.
advertised to us as entertainment, "This is so
Yes.
delicious," So I think
Mhm.
that was a line I think about sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that I'm not sure if you've seen any of the different reels associated with people who came for the World Cup from other
Mhm.
countries and how they were indulging in food in Philadelphia and how it's so rich and oh my gosh, look at the portions. And I think that
Yeah,
that may be part of it too if we look at it from what's
portions,
going
yeah.
on in the States versus other countries and the portions and
Mhm.
how it's prepared, that we eat it for enjoyment probably more so than
Yeah.
other countries do, where they may
Yeah.
enjoy it, but at the same time, there's this savoring for nutrition also,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, that and again, we try to travel every few years, and we noticed that especially, Costa Rica and Spain and Italy. The food is so delicious, but the portions are smaller. And I
Mhm.
think it's like an American mindset, "Well, I paid $30 for a plate, I want it to be overflowing," when instead of thinking, "I want it to be really good ingredients and to taste amazing and nourish me." And I think that's again, it's just our culture, but it's something to think about, like, I'd rather have a half a plate of pasta that's, like, unbelievable than just, Chef Boyardee out the yin yang.
Yes,
You
yes,
want
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. So I want us to dig a little bit deeper and talk more about teaching. So my haiku it
Mhm.
says, "Be prepared to stop as folks want to take notice." So right now, and this is a big statement, but I think it's true. The entire education world is stopping and taking notice of AI. And
Yeah, yeah, how can we
when
not?
yes, we have all these different AI tools, Chat GPT, you have a long laundry list of ones I don't know about. But when they
Mhm.
first blew up, a lot of English professors, just professors in general, I think some of us panicked and still are panicking.
Yeah.
So, for you, what made you decide not to run away from it, but to
Mm.
step in the forefront and say, "You know what?
Yeah.
Let's see what this is all about."
So I'm really lucky that, like, my father was a computer science professor. So even though I was born in the '80s, there was a computer in the house when I came home. I just always kind of saw technology as another kind of literacy, and I don't have all of it. Like, there's so much stuff like about graphic design that I don't know, but just
Mhm.
like the basics of like word processors and research and how it synthesizes information. I think a lot of people panic that like oh I got a stupid response or students think it's an oracle. Where I see what it's doing, right? It's just bringing together all the sources and giving us an average. And I had the same reaction of most of us. I was so off. I'm sorry. When I started getting the AI generated essays, like we pour our souls into this course. Like, what are you doing? But then I thought back because when I was an undergrad and I knew computers a little bit better, and I had it was like a French detective novel class that she wanted a 7-page paper and I had four. So I just made the margins broader because I panicked. Like, I really didn't know what to do. And I was like, I bet that's what they're feeling and everybody else is doing it. And if they're getting A's, then they're the one who's not going to get the scholarship or the transfer. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to learn everything I can. And again, lucky I had like my dad, my brothers in IT. Like, what should I look at? And then I know I have an obsessive, what's ADHD personality where it was hours. Just like figuring out and what it could do. And then I started connecting with some folks online and reading what they were doing and I've found, at least in my classes, the best thing to do is bring it out into the light. Let's all talk about how we're using it. Um, a lot of professors, I understand they want to ban it and then just rely on AI detectors. But what I'm going to
Mhm.
tell them in the fall, if you and I went on TikTok right now, students are being advertised humanizers that can beat any detector. They're being advertised what's called AI drip. where it can, like, you open it up in your browser and it'll slowly type it into the Google Doc so you think it's like a
Mm.
person. So the policing is not working. Um, there's always and people are making so much companies are making so much money off of students and faculty trying to police. So that's just brought me we need to bring it in the classroom. We need to just have the conversations, rethink the way we grade. So that was a long response, but I'm just very passionate about it that we can't turn back the clock.
Mhm.
It's here.
I agree, I agree. I think about how things are set up now with this algorithm, and you mentioned about generating essays in seconds, and now
Yeah.
they have all these alternatives. So, what does it mean for you to teach human writing now? What's
Yeah.
that look like for you?
Yeah. One thing I often will tell them is like your writer's voice is you. And when I read something that's authentically you, some of you are so like logical and like pedantic, and I love it. And some of you are funny, and some of you really lean into the pathos. And if you put it through AI, even if you took your own writing and said, AI, fix this, it's going to flatten it to that corporate academic speak. And we lose our souls that way. Right. And I also tell them, like, I grew up in a military family. I used to be so shy. I know I can't shut up now, but I was scared to speak. And I think just writing all the time made me more comfortable with my own language and to just flow. And they don't want to lose that. I
Mhm.
talk to them about thinking through writing, and they're going to lose that whole process. So I always say I do a lot of low stakes assignments, and I've stole this from some of our colleagues. When they do a homework, I don't care if it's full of typos and misspellings. The most important part is what you say.
Mhm.
Do a good job with that. It's already a 90 to try to take that panic out of them. Because you and I, we went to grad school and they wanted the
Mhm.
best papers were the flawless ones that sounded like a robot.
Yeah.
Right? And now we're
Yes.
like, "Please sound like a social media post. Have the passion, have the typos, bring
Yes.
the emojis. I
Yes.
don't care." Yeah.
Yes. The
How do
one
you
thing
approach it? Yeah.
well, so I share with my students, I actually will bring in social media posts,
Mhm.
or we'll have this activity sometimes where they may find something where it's a meme, whether it's a grammar issue or it's a
Mhm.
misspelling or something like that for fun. And so there was this one in particular that I used, and it was real. I tell them that if I get something emailed to me, or I get a text or something and I think it's beneficial, I'll share it. So I've had this happen more than once, but this one time in particular, it was an email that was sent from my former boss, who I still keep in contact with.
Mhm.
When I was a student at Rosemont, but then I worked there as well. And so she's a nun, Sister Michelle,
Mhm.
and she actually be 90 this year. But
Oh.
anyway, uh, she would travel a lot. And so she would be in Lagos, she would be in Nigeria,
Mhm.
wherever. And so I get this email that says, "Dearest Tanya." I'm like, "First off, dearest, she
Yeah,
doesn't
that's not
say that."
her.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Dearest Tanya, and please help me," basically asking me to send her some money.
Money.
And so it ended with cheers. And so I said to
Yeah.
my students, I'm quite sure that they used something to craft this. So I said,
Yeah.
imagine if you were actually being detained, or you were locked in someone's basement somewhere, yet you always created everything using AI, and they didn't know
And they
how
didn't
you
know you.
naturally sound.
Yes.
They would say,
Oh, I
"Oh, this
love
is just
that.
an AI. It's not really
Yeah,
them." And
yeah.
you're like,
This isn't
"Please,
them.
it's really me." And
Oh,
so
I
they
love
laughed
it.
about it. They laughed about it
Mhm.
because they were like, "You're right." And they said, and they started saying,
Yeah.
"Sometimes I get messages where I know it's not the person, or
Yes.
it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like the person." Even
Mhm.
today, I was sending a message to my cousins. I try to set up like an annual let's cousins
Mhm.
hang out type thing. And so Quinn tells me, and then this is not me using AI, this is me just typing. And she says, "Mommy, that
Yeah.
sounds too formal."
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
"You need to make it sound more relaxed." And I'm like,
Yeah, and now
"Okay."
yeah. Mhm. And there's a
So
whole
I think,
pressure now that
yeah.
we're automatically suspect of everything we
Mhm,
read.
mhm,
And so yeah,
mhm.
I'm a person who loved the M dash. Like, you look at
Yes.
my dissertation that I wrote, like,
Yes.
15 years ago, and now I can't use it because people will think it's AI, yeah, and like
Mhm.
you said, like, you tend to be, like, really polite and formal when it's just a general message, and now it's like, well, now we gotta warm it up.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, it's
and
hard,
so,
yeah.
yeah, so a lot of times for me, in presenting it in that way and saying that I wanna make it fun. So I find if I make it where it's not so rigid and I try to make it fun and I
Yeah.
say, "Okay, let's see what would happen if you did it this
Mhm.
way." And not only that, I tell them that everything can be a tool or resource. How are you going about using it? And do you wanna hold on to your critical thinking skills? 'Cause I think that's part of it too.
Yeah.
So one of
Oh,
the fun things that I started doing also, not even just with the written but the visual, and I believe you sent me one of these as well that I use, where can you make the distinction between which picture is AI
yeah.
generated and which one's not.
Mhm.
And so even in keeping that critical thinking going, I think that that's something that students appreciate, or at least they seem to
Yeah. I think
appreciate
they
it.
do. And don't you find it interesting that, like, this generation, most of us, but especially this generation, they don't automatically trust anything they see,
Mhm,
which is so good,
mhm.
right? Because we used to just
Yes.
trust what we read and stuff. But they don't trust videos, they don't trust social media where, bless my mother-in-law, she'll be like, "I saw a video, an orca landed on a boat and, like, blah, 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 was laying on the deck." I'm like, "That was AI generated." Because they don't have that, yeah, it's nothing, she just doesn't use it.
Mhm,
Um but it is good they have that filter, and I tell them, "Okay, take that, you need to apply that to, like, every news story you read," different things like that, but
mhm,
it is scary that the temptation for them to just take every assignment, plug it in, get a result, humanize it, give it
mhm.
to us, and like you said, we have to
Yes.
make it fun now, and which is so much pressure on us. "By the
Yes,
way, enrollment's
yes,
down and
and
classes are
yes, and
bigger, now
the
make it interesting," and yeah.
exactly, and the reality
Yeah.
is that we're saying we have to make it fun, but I think the average professor is not gonna say that. They're gonna say, "You learn the way I teach, and that's the
Yes.
end of it."
Yeah,
And
and that's
and they're within their rights to say that,
but
but,
not if it's
you
I'll challenge
know.
you. I mean, that I know we need I have a big fan of you don't have to bring AI into your classroom,
Yeah.
but you can't teach like it doesn't exist. You can't
Yes.
keep doing the, like, one final paper, one final project, because then they're just gonna have AI do it, and you're gonna say, "I'm not a police officer, I don't care," but then our degrees are gonna be worth nothing.
Yes,
And
yes.
everyone's gonna stop coming.
Yes, and
Because there
mhm,
was a
mhm.
lot of the online colleges, there was one, it was called something Maine, where people were getting their master's degrees because you could complete it as fast as you wanted. They were getting a master's degree in 2 weeks because they would have an agent just, like,
Wow.
complete the whole Canvas shell,
Wow.
and the college is now debunked because the degrees are worthless if people can get a master's degree
Mm,
in 2 weeks. So I'm with
mm,
you. Our colleagues in general need to wake up, like, just because our professors were taught that way, and they taught us that way, and we've been doing it for
mhm.
20 years, it's different now, right?
Yes, yes. And even though we are teaching a specific discipline, I still look at it as also just modeling, like we talk about modeling for our children. They're not our children, but in being our students and modeling and
Mhm.
preparing them for the
Yeah.
future, whatever that may be. Maybe they're just taking this one course and that's it. Maybe they plan on getting a degree. Maybe they
Yeah.
plan on transferring, whatever it is they plan on doing, because when they do eventually get to the workforce, if they aren't already,
Mhm.
they may run into some issues when they're saying, "I have no experience or knowledge of this at all," or if they use it in a negative way. You know
Yeah.
my best friend Michelle's,
Mhm.
she had a situation where they're hiring people who then reveal, "Oh, yeah," they slip up, like, once they get the job. "Oh, yeah, because I used the chat to help me answer all the questions for" "Oh, you did?
Oh my
Is that
gosh, so
right?"
you don't know how this works. Yeah. I show students that too, and I know the slides are like, but I think you and my sister-in-law showed me Canva and ways to make slides interesting. But 2/3 of all job postings right now, and that's like across all jobs, they want students to have some kind of AI literacy, which is to use it as a partner, not just plug
Mhm.
problems into it, but
Mhm.
to help you do better. And I love where we teach, but I went to go speak at a liberal arts college that obviously people there had a lot of money. And I said, "Well, aren't your students concerned if they use AI to cheat, they're not going to be able to get a job?" And they're like, "Oh, basically, this is so frustrating. Well, their parents are rich. They'll be okay. I don't think they're that
Mm.
stressed."
Wow.
I was
Wow.
like, "Well, my students are in the classroom to better their educational opportunities and their job opportunities. They're not there for the sake of like frat parties and, networking." And
Mhm.
so I think we really do them a disservice if this is what they need to know for the workforce and we don't want to teach them.
Mhm.
So, Yeah, and I
And
know
and
this is gonna go over like, bricks into the water, but I'm gonna suggest we put it into English 100 and I'll watch the, like, arguments unfold. But unless our
yes.
college can come up with some kind of freshman experience or something, it really is most the problem in writing.
Mhm, mhm.
We will
And
see. Tanya can say she had the
yes,
heads up before the,
yes.
screaming breaks out.
And I'm just thinking about just us having this conversation about the evolution of our students and even us as educators and just people and looking back. When we first started, neither of us were even mothers at that point. We
Mm,
didn't have to worry about checking for AI generated papers. But now we're in 2026, and so I'm just
yeah.
curious, what's something or maybe there's more than one something that you've noticed about your journey or even our journey that
Hmm.
you're most grateful for?
I think as, we're women in our mid-40s, and not to give numbers to any audience members, and you were always, since I met you, you've been so kind and so together and like so focused and about your family and about your students. Um, and I just see you like being there for yourself a lot now, which is amazing, right? Like taking care of your fitness and like these projects you're passionate about and like pouring all this energy you've always poured outward into some of the things that matter to you. And I've really loved watching that change for you. For me, and I think it terrifies my husband, I don't care what people think as much, you know?
Yes, for
Like, and
people who
I
didn't see
I
that, I put 2
know.
thumbs up on that.
Yeah, yeah, I know that the way and I would always I couldn't have done that, and as much as I'm like, "Oh, I feel old doing this AI stuff," I would have been way too scared of hurting people's feelings about not agreeing with them 10 years ago. But
Mhm,
now I'm like, "I'm not telling you what to do, I'm telling you what I've researched and what I think, and if you have an issue, that's fine. I'm not carrying it for you."
mhm.
And, sometimes Craig looks over and he's like, "Who are you?"
You're a member,
Hey.
I'm not quite there. I feel like I am a friendly member of the I Don't
Yeah.
Care Club.
Yeah, I
Have
love
you
it.
heard
I
about the
love
I
it.
Don't Care Club? I'm a
Mhm.
friendly member
Mhm.
because I do find myself still taking a step back and saying, well, what is such and such going to think about this? But I do tiptoe in occasionally. And it's not even that I scream from the rooftops, I don't care what they think. But
No, but
even if I do care, I say, but this is something I'm passionate about. This is something that I want to do. Even in starting this podcast, there was a
mhm.
lot of me being concerned about what someone may think or what someone may
Yeah.
say, and I just said, "Well, you know what? This is for me." And so even if I don't care, I wouldn't say that. I would say I care more about me doing something for me than caring about what they think about what
Mhm.
I'm doing. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And, another guiding light, which is painful at first, is my husband is like the president and CEO of the I don't care club. I don't care what you think. Like he just says the thing. I think
I think Sean is too.
I
I
had a
don't
f
know, I
yeah.
mean, I don't wanna make it a gender thing, but I think a lot of guys get there before we do.
Yeah. But just I remember there was a guy in grad school that was torn between 2 women. He's like, "I don't know, my life is so hard." And Craig is like, "Well, it's because you're being stupid." Like, the decisions you're making are idiotic. Of course your life is hard. And the guy was so upset. Like, you don't understand, the grad school sensitivity. And I was like, "Craig, you can't say that." He's like, "Why not?" So, the same thing,
That
like
it's
looking
true.
goofy in public and stuff, and the kids are more like that than me. But yeah, it's just why do we I forget the name. There's the actor that, he played Elvis, and he was in Dune. He's like the blonde guy, and he said, "People need
Mm,
to be more comfortable with the emotion of embarrassment because we're
mm.
so terrified of it, we're not living our lives," right? So
Yes,
I think that that's a
yes,
lesson I've learned
yes.
late in life. It's interesting he mastered that in his 20s, so
Mhm. That is
yeah.
awesome, yes, yes, and even with you bringing it up, it makes me think about how for today, that word embarrassment and seeing it tied in with social media. There was something I saw before where we're saying how a lot of people feel like they can't be themselves because they're
Mm,
afraid that it's going to somehow make its way onto someone's
yes.
reel or
Oh,
something
can you
like that.
imagine? Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in
Yeah.
middle school and stuff, it's terrifying.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
So I said, at least I'm putting
yeah.
the reels out there so
Yeah,
if
yeah, but
I
no, I
say
do
or do some
understand yeah,
yes.
because I read something that because I remember dancing at middle school dances, for example, and it was like we would just dance with like this, right, with the slow songs, And I remember I did the worst. I loved Boys to Men. I'm not sure I was a great hip hop dancer, but I would get out there and do it. But I read that recently, and it's a friend who was chaperoning a middle school dance. The kids don't dance because they're worried someone's going to
Mm,
tape them. And I'm
mm.
like, what a loss. We got to
Yes,
kind of just be,
yes.
well, though someone might talk about it tomorrow, but there's no evidence.
Mhm,
So that
exactly,
is that is scary. It's an
exactly.
interesting point. Yeah.
Mhm,
That's an
mhm.
embarrassment we got to not live through.
Yes, yes. So I have one, last
Mhm.
question.
Yeah.
If you were to stop and take notice of dogs, what breed would you be and why?
So I think I told you I both asked Craig. Well, first I asked AI because I'm on it constantly. I asked Claude. I asked ChatGPT. It said the same thing, and Craig said, "Oh yeah." So not energy wise, but my dog Blue was Australian cattle dog. It's like border collies. It's these herding dogs, and not. I wish physically I was like that. Those dogs can run forever, but they're always thinking and they're always trying to solve a problem. They always need to be engaged. Like we took Blue on hikes, we had to give him a backpack with water bottles because he needed something that he was doing or in charge of. They're always like scanning the surroundings to figure things out. So in reflection, I realized, yep, that's my brain.
Mhm.
And I think that's why I like AI so much because it's a problem that's constantly moving. So my brain
Yes.
is always engaged. Yeah.
Mhm. That's awesome, I love that. I had one person who said, border collie, for me. So
Nice. Oh, I love that. Energy wise,
yes,
I would say maybe, yeah. Yeah.
yes,
But
that's what they
yeah.
said. They said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
What dog breed do you think I would be and why?
So I had fun thinking about this one. I think I mentioned I even asked like Liz and Maria, like, Um, it's an amazing dog. Remember the first time I saw it, because it's kind of rare. I was in London. I was 22. We'd gone out clubbing, me and some friends, and one of those double-decker buses, we went up to the top. There was almost no one there, and a man was there with the most gorgeous dog. It's called Nikita Inu. They kind
Mm,
of look like huskies, but they have like teddy bear faces and a little bit of light brown on them. And I chose that dog because they're bright. They are fiercely loyal to, like, friends and family around them, but they're not, like, desperate for your attention, right? They're not like
mhm,
the golden retriever, like, everyone look at me, jumping on everybody, and they are remarkably strong. Like, were, like, created to, like, run through mountains and pull things, but they're rare, and when you
mm.
find one, you stop, you're like, "Oh my god." And so I was like, "That's Tanya Franklin. She's in Akita Inu." Yeah, yeah,
I love that. I have to look that dog
yeah.
up.
Oh, they're gorgeous, and here, I know we're on a podcast, but I can still bring it up in 2 seconds, but they are the most beautiful dog. Like, Jack thought my son Jack is obsessed with dogs, and he thought
Oh,
that huskies are the most beautiful, and I was like,
yes.
"Nope." So let me pull it up right here. It's not the best
Oh,
one.
wow, oh,
They're
that's a beautiful
gorgeous.
dog.
They're a lot of
Yes.
they're very similar to huskies, but they have much, like, more teddy bear faces,
Mhm.
and in a lot of ways, they're stronger, so I thought that was
Yes.
cool. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Susan. I love that. And
Yeah,
I loved
yeah.
having you for a guest today and getting to stop and take notice and celebrate everything that you do and will be doing in the future. I mean,
Thank you.
yes, from your family to our future as professors. And it's just been an absolute joy. And I thank you for being a pioneer, not even just with AI, but in the classroom and being an incredible mom, wife, and I can't
Ditto.
forget a friend too. So I
It's
appreciate that
been
so much.
yeah. It's been wonderful the last 15 years to change
Yes.
alongside you, my friend, and
Yes.
learn from you.
Oh, thank you. And to those listening or watching, thank you. And don't forget to stop and take notice of the incredible people around you. And while you're at it, share this episode with your friends and family. And be sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at Tricks My Dog Taught Me. Until next time, when I get into week 31's poem, Prepare to Be on Guard. Here's a lesson from my little guy, Zach the toy poodle, who loves when people stop and take notice of him. Every now and then, it's perfectly fine to stop and let the world marvel at your fabulousness.
Love it.
Until next time, take care.